The vast reaches of space always fascinated Captain Mark Benson, a seasoned explorer with the Earth Federation. His ship, the Starfinder, drifted through the void, its destination a mysterious planet called Astara, rumored to hold the secrets of advanced alien civilizations. Astara had been a subject of countless myths and legends. Mark, ever the skeptic, was determined to uncover the truth. As the Starfinder descended through Astara's atmosphere, the planet's unique beauty revealed itself. Mosaic of vibrant colors painted the landscape, lush forests of towering crystalline trees, rivers of molten silver, and skies that shifted in hue with the movement of the wind. Mark's heart raced with anticipation as the ship touched down on a soft, glowing plain, its surface pulsating with life. Stepping out onto the alien soil, Mark marveled at the world around him. The air was rich with unfamiliar scents, and a gentle breeze caressed his face. He had read reports about Astara's unique biosphere, but nothing had prepared him for the sheer vibrancy of the planet. Every step he took left a faint, luminous footprint on the ground, which faded slowly as he moved away. As Mark explored, he noticed something unusual. Despite the overwhelming beauty, the planet was eerily quiet. There were no signs of life, no animals or birds, just the rustling of the crystalline trees in the wind. He checked his scanner, which beeped faintly, indicating a life form approaching from the north. Cautiously, Mark advanced towards the signal. He didn't have to wait long before he saw her. A figure emerged from the shadows of the crystalline forest. Tall, slender alien woman with skin that shimmered like the surface of a tranquil sea. Her hair was a cascade of iridescent strands, and her eyes glowed with a soft, violet light. The alien girl moved with an ethereal grace, her every step a dance with the world around her. She wore a flowing garment woven from what seemed like strands of light, and as she approached, Mark could see that her presence affected the very environment. Flowers bloomed in her wake, and the trees seemed to lean towards her as if drawn by her aura. "Welcome to Astara," she said, her voice a harmonious blend of notes, both alien and familiar. Mark's suit automatically translated her speech, but even without it, he could feel the kindness and wisdom in her tone. "I'm Mark Benson, an explorer from Earth," he replied, extending his hand in greeting. The alien girl looked at his hand curiously before lightly placing her own on his, a gesture that sent a warm, tingling sensation through his arm. "I am Lyra," she introduced herself, "Guardian of Astara. You are the first human to set foot on our world. I have a surprise for you, but first, you must understand the nature of this place." Mark's curiosity was piqued. What kind of surprise? Lyra smiled enigmatically, her eyes twinkling like stars. "All in good time, Earthling. Follow me, and you shall see." Without another word, she turned and began to walk towards the forest. Mark hesitated for a moment, but the promise of discovery drove him forward. As he followed her, he couldn't shake the feeling that this mission was going to change his life in ways he could never have anticipated. The journey into the forest was like stepping into another world. The trees, massive and otherworldly, hummed with energy. The ground beneath their feet seemed to pulse with life, and the air was thick with the scent of alien flora. Lyra moved effortlessly through the terrain, her presence calming the environment as they walked. "Astara is not just a planet," Lyra explained as they ventured deeper into the forest. "It is a living entity, a consciousness that has existed for eons. We, its guardians, are its children, born to protect and guide its evolution." Mark listened intently, his mind racing with questions. "And what about the surprise you mentioned?" Lyra stopped abruptly in front of a massive tree with a trunk so wide it seemed to hold up the sky. Its bark glowed with a deep, inner light, and as Lyra placed her hand on it, the tree responded with a soft hum that resonated through the ground. "Place your hand on the tree," Lyra instructed. "Feel the connection between Astara and yourself." Hesitant but intrigued, Mark placed his hand next to Lyra's on the tree. The moment his skin touched the bark, rush of energy surged through him. His mind filled with images, flashes of distant worlds, ancient civilizations, and the life force that pulsed through Astara itself. "This is the heart tree," Lyra whispered. "It is the source of life on Astara, and through it, you are connected to every living thing on this planet." Mark felt overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of what he was experiencing. He had come to Astara seeking knowledge, but what he had found was something far greater, a connection to a world beyond anything he had imagined. As he withdrew his hand, he looked at Lyra, who was watching him closely. "The surprise," she said, her voice soft and full of promise, "is that Astara has chosen you, Mark Benson. You are now part of this world, and its destiny is tied to yours." Mark stared at her in disbelief. He had always considered himself a mere explorer, a seeker of knowledge, but now it seemed he had become something much more, an integral part of an alien world with secrets that spanned the universe. Mark took a step back, trying to process the weight of Lyra's words. "Chosen me? What does that mean?" Lyra's violet eyes softened as she saw the confusion on his face. "Astara is not just a planet. It is a sentient being with a will of its own. It has observed you, Mark, your courage, your curiosity, and it sees in you a potential that even you may not fully understand. Astara has chosen you as a guardian, one who will help protect and nurture its future." Mark shook his head, trying to grasp the enormity of the situation. "But I'm just a human. How can I possibly be a guardian of an entire world?" Lyra smiled gently, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You are not alone, Mark. Astara has many guardians, each with their unique strengths and abilities. You have been given a gift, a bond with the planet that will allow you to communicate with it, to understand its needs and its desires. This connection will grow stronger with time, and as it does, so will your understanding of your role here." As she spoke, the ground beneath them began to glow softly, and Mark felt a surge of warmth and energy coursing through his body. It was as if the planet itself was embracing him, welcoming him as one of its own. "But why me?" Mark asked, still struggling to comprehend. Why would Astara choose an outsider, someone who knows so little about this place? Lyra's expression became more serious. "Because you bring something new, Mark. Your perspective, your experiences, and your spirit are unlike anything Astara has encountered before. Sometimes, the most profound changes come from the outside, from those who see the world with fresh eyes." Mark felt a deep sense of awe and responsibility settling over him. He had come to Astara in search of knowledge, but he had found something far more significant. This was no longer just a mission. It was a calling, one that he could not ignore. "What happens now?" he asked, his voice steadying as he accepted the reality of his new role. "Now," Lyra said with a soft smile, "your journey truly begins. There is much to learn, and many challenges ahead, but you will not face them alone. The other guardians and I will guide you, and Astara itself will be your greatest ally." As they stood beneath the ancient heart tree, Mark felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had been chosen by a living world, entrusted with its secrets and its future. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with mysteries and dangers he could not yet imagine. But he knew, deep in his heart, that he was ready to embrace it. With a final, lingering touch on the heart tree, Mark looked at Lyra and nodded. "I'm ready." Lyra's smile widened, and she gestured towards the forest path ahead. "Then let us begin." Together, they walked into the vibrant, pulsating depths of Astara, where the mysteries of the universe awaited them. And as they ventured forward, Mark could feel the planet's presence all around him, guiding his steps, whispering its ancient secrets, and welcoming him into a new life among the stars. As they walked deeper into the forest, the landscape around them began to change. The towering crystalline trees grew denser, their branches weaving together to form a natural canopy that filtered the light into a kaleidoscope of colors. The air grew cooler, and the scent of alien flowers filled Mark's senses, making him feel both alert and strangely at peace. Lyra moved with effortless grace, her presence calming and reassuring. Mark could sense that she was leading him somewhere important, a place that held even more secrets about Astara and his new role as its guardian. After what felt like hours, they arrived at a clearing. In the center stood a massive structure that seemed to grow out of the ground itself. Towering spire made of the same crystalline material as the trees, but with an intricate design that suggested it was far more than just a natural formation. "This is the Nexus," Lyra explained, her voice filled with reverence. "It is the heart of Astara's consciousness, a place where the energies of the planet converge. As a guardian, this will be your sanctuary, a place where you can connect with Astara on a deeper level." Mark approached the Nexus, feeling a mixture of awe and trepidation. The structure pulsed with a soft, rhythmic glow, almost as if it were alive. As he reached out to touch it, a surge of energy shot through him, more powerful than anything he had felt before. His mind was flooded with images, visions of ancient guardians, moments of great triumph and sorrow, and the constant, unwavering presence of Astara's consciousness. "Every guardian has a unique bond with the Nexus," Lyra continued. "It will reveal to you the knowledge and wisdom you need, and it will grow with you as you fulfill your role. But remember, Mark, this connection is a two-way street. As much as the Nexus will guide you, you will also guide it. Your thoughts, your emotions, your choices, they will shape the future of Astara." Mark withdrew his hand, his mind buzzing with the intensity of the experience. He had always considered himself a man of science, grounded in logic and reason. But now, standing before the Nexus, he realized that there were forces in the universe far beyond his understanding, forces that demanded not just knowledge, but also trust and intuition. "What do I need to do?" he asked, turning to Lyra. "How do I begin?" Lyra smiled gently, her eyes reflecting the light of the Nexus. "Your journey will unfold in stages. The first step is to attune yourself to Astara, to learn its rhythms and its needs. You will spend time here at the Nexus, meditating, listening, and allowing the planet to speak to you. There will be challenges, both physical and mental, but they are all part of your growth as a guardian." She gestured towards a small alcove at the base of the Nexus, where a smooth, crystalline platform awaited. "This is where you will meditate. The Nexus will guide you through your first attunement, and I will be here to assist you if needed." Mark nodded, feeling a sense of resolve settle within him. He had faced countless dangers and explored many worlds, but nothing had prepared him for this. Yet, he knew that he had been chosen for a reason, and he was determined to rise to the challenge. He walked over to the platform and sat down, crossing his legs and placing his hands on his knees. As he closed his eyes, he felt the energy of the Nexus envelop him, a warm, comforting presence that seemed to reach into the very core of his being. "Relax your mind," Lyra's voice whispered softly. "Let go of your thoughts and focus on the connection between you and Astara. Feel the planet's pulse, its breath, its life force. Let it become one with you." Mark did as she instructed, allowing his mind to quiet and his body to relax. Gradually, he became aware of a subtle vibration beneath him, a rhythmic pulse that matched the beating of his heart. The sensation grew stronger, spreading through his body and filling him with a deep sense of peace. And then he felt it. Presence, ancient and wise, reaching out to him from the depths of the planet. It was as if Astara itself was speaking to him, not with words, but with emotions, images, and sensations. Mark felt a deep connection to the planet, a bond that transcended time and space. He saw flashes of Astara's history, the rise and fall of civilizations, the guardians who had come before him, and the delicate balance that held the planet together. The visions were overwhelming, yet they filled him with a profound sense of purpose. He understood now why he had been chosen. Astara was not just a world to be explored, it was a living, breathing entity that needed protection, guidance, and care. And he, Mark Benson, was now a part of that legacy. As the attunement came to an end, Mark opened his eyes, feeling a deep sense of calm and clarity. The Nexus's glow had dimmed, but the connection between him and the planet remained strong, like a thread linking their destinies together. Lyra stood nearby, watching him with a knowing smile. "You have done well, Mark. The bond between you and Astora is strong. But this is only the beginning. There are still many trials ahead, and the path will not always be easy. But remember, you are not alone. Astora and its guardians are with you, now and always." Mark rose from the platform, feeling the weight of his new responsibilities. But instead of fear, he felt a deep sense of determination. He had been given a great gift, and he was ready to embrace it, no matter what challenges lay ahead. "What's the next step?" he asked, his voice steady and resolute. Lyra's eyes sparkled with a mixture of pride and anticipation. "The next step, Mark, is to explore. Astora is vast and full of mysteries, many of which have yet to be uncovered. Your journey will take you to the farthest reaches of this world, where you will face dangers, solve puzzles, and discover the true nature of the planet you are now bound to." She gestured towards a path leading deeper into the forest. "Your first task is to seek out the other guardians. They will be your allies, your teachers, and your friends. Together, you will protect Astora and ensure its future. But beware, for there are forces on this planet that do not wish for balance. They will challenge you, test you, and try to turn you from your path." Mark nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. He had been given a purpose, a mission that would shape the fate of an entire world. And he was ready to face whatever lay ahead, with Astora as his guide and Lyra as his mentor. With a final glance at the Nexus, Mark stepped onto the path, the weight of his new role settling on his shoulders. The journey was just beginning, and the future of Astora was now intertwined with his own. But he was ready to protect, ready to discover, and ready to become the guardian that Astora needed. And so, with Lyra by his side and the planet beneath his feet, Mark Benson embarked on the greatest adventure of his life, one that would take him to the farthest reaches of Astora and beyond, into the very heart of the universe itself. As Mark and Lyra ventured deeper into the forest, the atmosphere began to shift. The once vibrant colors of the crystalline trees and glowing flora grew dimmer, replaced by darker, more mysterious hues. The air became cooler, and the breeze carried with it a sense of foreboding, as if the very world was aware of their presence and was preparing for what was to come. Lyra remained calm, her expression serene as she led Mark along the winding path. He could sense her confidence, but also her vigilance. They were entering an area of Astora that was different from the tranquil beauty of the plains, a place where the balance between light and dark was more precarious. "Where are we headed?" Mark asked, breaking the silence. "We are going to meet the first of the other guardians," Lyra replied. "Each guardian oversees a different aspect of Astora, and they each possess unique knowledge and abilities. The one we are about to meet is Tarek, the guardian of shadows." "Shadows?" Mark echoed, his curiosity piqued. "What does that mean?" Lyra glanced at him, her eyes reflecting the faint light filtering through the canopy. "Astora, like all worlds, has its light and its darkness. Tarek is the one who maintains the balance between the two. He guards the secrets of the night, the hidden places where the unknown dwells. His role is crucial, for without shadows, there can be no light." Mark nodded, understanding the significance of what she was saying. The idea of a guardian who controlled the shadows, who maintained the balance between light and dark, fascinated him, but it also made him wary. He had faced many unknowns in his travels, but the concept of dealing with the literal embodiment of shadows was unsettling. As they walked, the path narrowed, and the trees grew denser, their branches intertwining to form a thick canopy that blocked out most of the light. The forest floor was covered in a soft, dark moss that muffled their footsteps, adding to the eerie silence that surrounded them. Finally, they reached a clearing, But this one was unlike any Mark had seen before. The ground was covered in a fine black sand that sparkled faintly in the dim light. In the center of the clearing stood a tall figure, his form barely distinguishable from the shadows that clung to him like a second skin. "Tarek," Lyra called out softly, her voice carrying a note of respect. The figure turned, and as he did, the shadows around him seemed to shift, revealing a man with sharp, angular features and eyes that gleamed like polished obsidian. His skin was a deep, dark gray, almost black, and his hair, long and flowing, was the color of midnight. He was clad in a robe that seemed to absorb the light around it, making him appear as if he were a living shadow. "Greetings, Lyra," Tarek replied, his voice low and smooth, like the whisper of the wind through the trees. His gaze shifted to Mark, and for a moment, the air seemed to grow colder. "And you must be the new guardian." Mark felt a shiver run down his spine as Tarek's eyes bore into him. There was something about the man, something ancient and powerful, as if he were more shadow than flesh. "Mark Benson," Mark said, extending his hand in greeting. "It's an honor to meet you." Tarek looked at Mark's hand for a moment before taking it in his own. The touch was surprisingly warm, though the sensation was fleeting, like grasping smoke. "The honor is mine," Tarek said, a hint of a smile on his lips. "I have heard much about you, Earthling. Astara has chosen you for a reason, and I am eager to see how you will fulfill your role." Mark nodded, feeling a mixture of respect and caution. Tarek was clearly a powerful being, one who commanded the shadows and guarded the secrets of the night. But there was also a sense of mystery about him, as if he held knowledge that was beyond Mark's understanding. "What brings you to my domain?" Tarek asked, turning his attention to Lyra. "We are here to seek your guidance," Lyra replied. "Mark is new to our world, and he must learn the ways of Astara. You, more than anyone, understand the importance of balance. He needs to understand that as well." Tarek studied Mark for a long moment, his gaze intense and probing. "Balance is indeed crucial," he said finally. "Without it, Astara would descend into chaos. The shadows I command are not evil, but they are necessary. They provide depth, contrast, and mystery. They protect the secrets of this world, and they keep the light in check." Mark listened intently, absorbing Tarek's words. He had always thought of shadows as something to be feared, as the unknown and the dangerous. But now he was beginning to see them in a different light, literally and figuratively. The shadows were not just a contrast to the light. They were a part of the whole, essential to the balance that kept Astara alive. "How can I help maintain that balance?" Mark asked, eager to understand his role. Tarek's smile widened, though it was a smile that held little warmth. "That is something you will learn in time. For now, there is a task you must complete. A test, if you will, to prove your worth as a guardian." Mark's heart quickened at the mention of a test. He had faced many challenges in his life, but this one felt different, more personal, more significant. "What kind of test?" he asked, bracing himself for whatever was to come. Tarek gestured to the edge of the clearing, where the shadows seemed to gather and swirl, forming a dense, impenetrable barrier. "Beyond this point lies the shadow maze, a labyrinth of darkness that only those who understand the nature of shadows can navigate. You must enter the maze and find the heart of darkness, a crystal that holds the essence of the shadows. Bring it to me, and you will have proven your ability to walk the path of the guardian." Mark stared at the swirling shadows, his mind racing. The task sounded daunting, but he knew he had no choice. If he was to become a true guardian of Astara, he had to face the challenge head-on. "Do not fear the shadows," Lyra said, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Remember what you have learned today. The shadows are not your enemy. They are a part of you, just as you are a part of Astara." Mark nodded, steeling himself for the task ahead. With a deep breath, he stepped towards the shadow maze, the darkness enveloping him as he crossed the threshold. The world around him disappeared, leaving him alone in a realm of shadows. But as the darkness closed in, Mark felt a strange sense of calm. The shadows were all around him, yes, but they were also within him, a part of his very being. And with that realization, he took his first step into the maze, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As Mark ventured deeper into the shadow maze, the darkness around him thickened, wrapping him in a shroud of impenetrable blackness. Each step was tentative, the ground beneath his feet soft and uncertain. The air was cold and still, with only the faint sound of his breathing to keep him company. It was disorienting, but Mark knew he had to stay focused. Lyra's words echoed in his mind. "The shadows are not your enemy. They are a part of you." He repeated the phrase like a mantra, trying to calm his racing heart. He reached out with his senses, feeling the energy of the maze, trying to attune himself to its rhythms. At first, there was nothing but darkness, an endless void that seemed to stretch on forever. But gradually, as Mark let go of his fear and embraced the shadows, he began to perceive faint outlines, a path winding through the maze, barely visible, but there. The shadows were guiding him, showing him the way. He moved cautiously, one step at a time, following the subtle cues the shadows provided. The maze twisted and turned with narrow passages and sudden drops, but Mark trusted the path. He understood now that the maze was not meant to trap him but to teach him, to show him that he could navigate the unknown, that he could find his way even in the darkest of places. As he went deeper, the shadows seemed to whisper to him, their voices soft and indistinct. They spoke of the history of Astora, of the ancient civilizations that had once thrived here, of the guardians who had come before him. Mark listened intently, absorbing the knowledge, feeling himself grow closer to the world that had chosen him. Finally, after what felt like hours, Mark saw a faint glow ahead. It was different from the ethereal light of the forests or the crystalline trees. This was a deep, pulsating light, almost like a heartbeat, emanating from the center of the maze. Mark quickened his pace, drawn to the source. As he approached, the darkness parted, revealing a small chamber at the heart of the maze. In the center of the chamber floated a crystal, the heart of darkness. It was a stunning object, a multifaceted gem that seemed to absorb and reflect the light around it, casting intricate patterns of shadow on the walls. It pulsed with a rhythm that matched Mark's own heartbeat, as if it were alive, connected to him on some deep, fundamental level. To be continued.